Magandang umaga, Malacañang Press Corps, and welcome sa ating press briefing ngayon, June 4. The the National Economic and Development Authority, or the NEDA board, chaired by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., convened their 17th meeting yesterday, June 3rd. Among the discussions made by the board include the approval of the Comprehensive Tariff Program, which aims to calibrate the current tariff rates until 2028. NEDA also reported the 2024 first quarter progress of infrastructure flagship projects, or the IFPs, under the Build Better More program. And to discuss more of the NEDA board meeting, we have with us today NEDA Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan. Good morning, Secretary Balisacan.
Good morning. Good morning again. Good morning to everyone. As mentioned yesterday, June 3, the NEDA board, under the leadership of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., approved the new comprehensive tariff program for 2024 to 2028. This program calibrates the current tariff rates until 2028, a strategic move to ensure access and affordability to essential commodities, while balancing the interests of consumers and local producers, which is crucial for fostering rapid, sustained, and inclusive economic growth. During its 17th meeting, the NEDA board acted on the recommendations of the Committee on Tariff and Related Matters, or CTRM, to maintain the current rates on more than half of the tariff lines covering various agricultural and industrial products that have relatively low applied tariffs, particularly for raw materials and intermediate inputs used in manufacturing. The tariff maintenance will ensure access to inputs and support efforts to improve productivity and competitiveness. This measure will help our domestic industries by reducing the cost they incur for their inputs, enabling them to be more competitive, especially in the global market. The board also agreed to merge tariff lines on certain chemical and chemical products, textiles, machinery, and transport equipment to simplify the tariff structure for more efficient customs administration and improve the ease of doing business. The board also approved the CTRM's recommendation to reduce the tariff on certain chemicals and coal briquettes to improve energy security and reduce input cost. Tariff reduction on coal will help ensure its availability at reasonable prices, thus supporting more stable electricity prices and supply in the country. Given our present energy constraints, this reduction will be timely as we steadily work toward implementing planned investment in transmission facilities and renewable energy infrastructure in the coming years. Meanwhile, the chemicals proposed for reduction are inputs to manufacture antiseptics, detergents, and medical desserts. Reducing the tariff on these inputs will help lower production costs and improve consumer welfare. The reduced tariff rates on corn, pork, and mechanically deboned meat under Executive Order No. 50, Series of 2023, were also maintained until 2028 to ensure stable supply of these commodities, help manage inflation, promote policy stability and investment planning, and enhance food security. For rice, one of the most critical components of Filipino households' consumption basket, the NEDA board agrees to reduce the duty rate to 15% for both in-quota and out-quota rates from 35% until 2028. This decision aims to lower the price of rice further and make it more affordable. Based on the latest inflation reports of the Philippine Statistics Authority in the past 3 months, rice contributed about 2 percentage points, or over 50%, to the headline inflation. Reducing rice tariffs is expected to bring down rice prices for consumers, while also supporting domestic production through tariff cover and increased budgetary support to improve agricultural productivity, especially as global rice prices remain elevated. Upward price pressure for rice are driven by the effects of the El Nino phenomenon that are felt worldwide, as well as increasing demand given our steadily growing population and economy. We note that even at the reduced rate of 15%, the rice sector continues to enjoy comparatively high tariff protection from competitive imports, as the tariff is higher than for the 80 to 90% of the total 11,484 tariff lines under the ASEAN Harmonized Tariff Nomenclature 2022. Moreover, the NEDA board has retained the tariff cover for various other agricultural products. This includes sugar, vegetables such as onion, shallots, garlic, broccoli, carrots, cabbage, lettuce, sweet potatoes, cassava, coffee substitutes, complete feeds, and feed preparations. We also note that extensive consultations and review by the Tariff Commission, in line with the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act, informed the recommendations of the Committee on Tariff and Related Matters to the NEDA board. The comprehensive tariff review is conducted every 5 years. This new multi-year tariff schedule aims to help our economy achieve and balance several critical policy objectives. The multi-year horizon seeks to promote transparency, predictability, and policy stability. It will enable our domestic industries to undertake medium to long-term planning to enhance productivity and competitiveness, facilitate trade, and contribute to favorable outcomes in international trade agreements while ensuring consumer welfare and protection, especially in the near term, as we still confront upside risk to inflation. The President will issue an executive order to implement this new tariff program. Along with a liberalized policy regime for crucial food commodities to help mitigate the impact of commodity shocks on local prices, we recognize the necessity of effectively implementing long-term and permanent solutions to modernize and improve the productivity of the agriculture sector. This trust is crucial to a comprehensive and sustainable response to supply constraints and food inflation. Indeed, the Marcos administration has prioritized agricultural development as demonstrated by the increased allocation of resources to the sector. The DA budget, for example, has increased by 69% from 2022 to 2024 compared to its average appropriation for 2017 to 2021. During the meeting, the NEDA also reported the status or progress of implementing the infrastructure flagship projects or IFPs under the Build Better More program as of the first quarter of 2024. During the President's SONA in July 2023, the President emphasized these projects as crucial elements to enhance economic efficiency and drive nationwide economic progress through improved infrastructure. The progress made in developing our infrastructure has been substantial. Since the President's State of the Nation address last year, we have completed 3 projects, given the green lights to 6 more, and currently have 8 under construction. These achievements demonstrate significant headway in enhancing the country's infrastructure. This advancement indicates a promising trajectory toward achieving nationwide infrastructure improvement and economic growth goals. For more information about these government infrastructure policy projects, you may visit the IFP's dashboard on the NEDA website. As we progressed, we remain dedicated to collaborating with stakeholders to address the key constraints and issues raised in various local and international platforms and venues. We'll work closely with the entire government agencies or with the entire government and engage the private sector, for we truly believe that the most effective solutions capitalize on the unique strength of both sectors. Together, we strive to build a nation that is not only economically robust, but also prosperous, inclusive, and resilient, a legacy that will last for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Balisacan. Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Sir, with the reduction of import tariffs sa rice, do we expect this to have an immediate impact on the price of rice? And if so, how much do we expect rice prices to go down?
We are at least aiming for, the Department of Agriculture is aiming for a reduction of to 29 pesos per kilo, at least for the poor, because we will complement this tariff reduction with direct subsidies to the poor and vulnerable, so that at least they could access the food at 29 pesos per kilo. But overall, with the tariff reduction from 35 to 15%, everybody will benefit from that. This is crucial, as I emphasized, because world prices are still increasing, and so if we don't reduce the tariff with the increase in world prices compounded by 35% tariff over and above that, prices and inflation will remain to be a very serious problem. So with this, we expect those upward pressure on rice prices to ease.
How soon do we expect to feel the effects, sir? Meron po ba tayong aim kung kailan po mararamdaman yung pagbaba ng
we would expect, yes, as normally, of course, it will take a little bit more time because the executive order will have to be issued, and then that will then influence, once this comes out, that will then influence the decisions of private sectors to import. They can bring in more rice now from the world market at a much lower landed cost than otherwise would be the case without the tariff reduction. So give it by July, August, we should see some of those reduction. But again, as I said, world prices are rising, so the actual decline in the domestic prices will not be as large as implied by the tariff reduction. But this tariff reduction will substantially ease the upward pressure on domestic prices.
Chona Yu, People's Journal.
Secretary, how much yung estimated na malulugi because of tariff reduction ang mawawala sa government?
You mean the foregone tariff, the collection? Of course, we don't have that. The numbers we believe are not exactly lost, because with the lower tariff that would enhance economic activities and also improve the welfare of households, particularly the most vulnerable groups. So there will be more dynamism in the economy, and that will generate revenues for government. So it's not actually a complete loss of revenue.
Okay. Ivan Mayrina, GMA7.
Secretary, related po doon yung itatanong ko, yung sa RCEP, di ho ba nanggagaling yun sa tariffs collected from rice imports? Ano ho magiging impact nun kung maliliit ang RCEP na mapupunta naman sa mga magsasaka?
The remaining tariff is still quite substantial, 15% pa rin yan. So whatever imports, if those imports are coming in at still elevated high prices, it's still quite a substantial tariff revenue for the RCEP. Yeah, it's plus, as I said earlier, the government has substantially increased the budget for the Department of Agriculture. The budget for 21, 22, 23, 24, the average 69% increase, no, compared to previous years. No? So that's quite that's the highest increase you can find in any of the sectors, insofar as the government allocation of the budget is concerned. So our approach is two-pronged. provide some cover, tariff cover for our farmers at 15%, but also ensure that we provide them with a lot of the services that will enhance the productivity of our farmers, so that the short-term and the medium-term, long-term objectives of government are achieved.
Nabanggit nyo rin ho, you will complement this with a form of subsidy. Ito na ho ba yung parang NFA rice na ibebenta na rin natin in the market? Is that forthcoming?
No, the NFA rice that the Department of Agriculture is talking about is about buffer stocking for emergencies, no, and to the extent that there will be sharp prices in the price of food, that buffer stock will be used to dampen that for the poor. But as I said, the additional imports that will be brought in by government, not necessarily by NFA, because NFA could source its rice from imports or from the private sector, or even also from the farmers, no, will augment the subsidy received by the poor. So that's the whole intention, is to, at least for the poor, to get those rice prices as low as possible. And they can get that from the lower tariff, and then from the lower priced NFA rice from Kadiwa centers, no, at 29 pesos per kilo.
Sorry, Sec, clarify po yung subsidy. In what form po yung magiging subsidy dito?
Well, the reduction in the price that we are seeing, especially for the poor, is coming from the reduced tariff, right, from 35 to 15, and then over and above that, the government will launch this subsidy for the poor.
Cash subsidy?
Cash, but it will go channeled to
4-piece.
for the 4-piece, DSWD, so that walang leakage, no? The subsidy will end up with those are targeted by the program, no? And then, in addition to that, we are also ramping up the implementation of the food stamp program, no, that DSWD will roll out. The pilot phase of the project is ending soon, and then the rollout of the program to cover more households will begin soon. So all this should at least again for the poor will improve their access to affordable rice.
Okay. Harley Valbuena, DZME.
Hi, good morning, Secretary.
Good morning.
Sir, may we get the stance of NEDA on the proposed amendments to the rice tarification law, which will allow NFA to sell rice at a lower price again?
Our position is shared by our economic team, is that the gains in the reforms that we have had over the years must be preserved, and a part of that those reform programs that we have done, that has been done, is to improve the efficiency in the operations of NFA and keep NFA do what it can do best, no? And in this case, what was decided in the RTL was that NFA will become a manager of stock for emergency purposes, no? But it must be able to define well what those emergency purposes are. For if there are sharp price increases in the domestic market, it must be able to use enough stocks to help the poor and to address the supply requirement of those affected by, say, crisis, no, like drought or floods or other disasters, no, that impact on certain groups of households or areas of the country.
Okay.
But sir, are you in favor of amending the rice tarification law?
Yes, we are insofar as as strengthening its ability to perform that particular task, no? Of intervening, having adequate stocks for emergency purposes. So operationally, it has to define what those and the amendment has to define what those emergency purposes are, and that should include cases like sharp swings in prices.
Jean Mangaluz, Inquirer.net.
Morning, Sec.
Yeah.
So a lot of local farmers are already struggling to compete with importers with lower prices from importers. Will the reductions on rice and other agricultural products further their struggle?
No, the only one that is affected by this program is the rice. No, all the other commodities will keep their tariff rates. No, for corn, and for meat, they will retain their rates at the levels given in the Executive Order number 50, series of 2023. No, but as I said, the objective of the program is to achieve a balanced, frame, and ensuring that the various objectives of government are achieved. And here we're talking about food security, the welfare of consumers, particularly the access to food by the poor, and then of course the welfare of farmers. And so we are addressing the issue of farmers not just in terms of the high prices that they receive for their products, but also for the subsidies and services that they require for their production. That way we can enhance their productivity and improve their competitiveness over time, while they are also shielded from unfair competition, particularly on imports. So that's a balancing act, because we want this country to grow, to sustain its growth momentum, while ensuring that it's an inclusive growth for all. Because what has been happening is, because of the high cost of food, high inflation in food, while the economy is growing, a lot of our people are also suffering. No? And this, as you know, the incidence of malnutrition, stunting, wasting is very high. And we want to ensure that as we grow, those issues are also resolved. So it's a balancing act that we are trying to do.
Secretary Balisacan, in keeping with the balancing act that you mentioned, you also mentioned the reduction in tariffs for coal.
Yeah.
How does this impact the Marcos administration's goal of a healthy energy mix?
Well, we look at at this energy transition again as a balancing act, because we cannot immediately and quickly transition to a zero emission. Otherwise, that will also kill our industries. But we are committed to be part of the global effort to reduce emissions, and so this reducing the tariff for briquettes will allow us to produce energy from coal that will be more accessible to our farmers, or to our population, and particularly our industries.
And this will address the urgent energy needs that we are facing?
Yes, that's correct, because there are two sources of and threats to our continued growth and development, and that's the food inflation that I mentioned earlier, and the other one is the energy. So we are managing to reducing the input cost for energy production, energy generation will help us address that issue.
Thank you. Question from Sama Danilia, Business Mirror. Microphone, thank you.
Good morning, sir. It's Secretary
Hi, good
Balisacan.
morning.
Na-mention po nila, sir, na yung in favor po ang economic team pagdating dun sa buffer stocking ng NFA. But is the economic team also in favor dun sa proposal ni President Marcos for NFA to compete with rice retailers and rice traders by procuring local rice or importing?
Yeah, so as we said, what remains to be defined is the concept of emergency, no? Because it's not clear in the law what that emergency is. When you say we stock for buffer stocking, what does it? Is it only limited to the presence of calamities? Of course, when you have calamities that impact negatively on your supply chain, that could also lead to upward prices, at least for certain groups or for certain areas of the country, right? Like when there are floods or there are droughts. But it may also involve certain manipulations by certain groups in the market, no? And we need to have the tools to address such issue. Of course, we have the Philippine Competition Commission to run after cartels and hoarders, but as you know, and as I know, I should know, the Competition Commission's processes take quite long, no? Because there's an investigation, and by the time that investigation is done, then it's the action is over, you know. So what we want to do is that we must be able to respond quickly to occurrence of shocks, like when you have this, sharp increases in prices. So I think that's one thing that we need to clear up in the RTL and the implementing rules and regulations of the RTL.
Sir, yung regarding dun sa RTL, last year po nakapag-collect po ang government ng 29 billion in tariff collection sa rice tariffication law. Doon po sa projection yun with the reduced tariff from 35% to 15%, yung 23 billion na yun, gaano po kaya siya ma-reduce sa mga succeeding years?
Well, that depends so much on how our local production responds, no? Because this year we were challenged by El Nino, but next year and for the rest of the year, our production might recover, and so that will reduce the demand for imports. The amount of collection, tariff collection that we can make, it depends on the volume of the imports as well as the level of the tariff, right? Of course, we reduce the tariff, but the volume might increase, no? Depending on how our local production responds to the improvement in the weather, because we are now transitioning into the so-called La Nina phenomenon.
Last na lang, sir. Yung na-mention nyo, tumataas yung presyo ng rice sa international market. How long po kaya expected ng NEDA na mag-continue yung high prices for rice?
Okay. As of today, it's still rising a bit. The forecast is the futures market says that by September we likely see a moderation of prices, global prices, but some other forecasts also show that if, beyond September it may still continue to elevate. No? So it's better be prepared, and so I think that this act of us, this move of the government, of the NEDA board, to reduce the tariff to ensure that food security is in this country is preserved.
Sir, ano po yung cost nung increase sa prices ng rice sa global market?
Mataas. I don't have the numbers now with me, but could be between 500 to 600. The last time I was looking at it, dollars per metric ton, no? And it was still inching up the last time I was looking at it. But again, what I was seeing is that those every week those forecast of the future prices is shifting, So, and because the rice market is quite a strange market, the global rice market. It's because it's what we call economy is a thin market. It's a very small market because many countries, particularly the rice consuming countries, or where rice is staple, pursue aggressive productivity measures to ensure that they do not depend so much on imported rice, and so that's also our stand. We now have to ensure that we increase the productivity of our farms so that we don't have to be too dependent on that very volatile rice market. When that market is so thin, global market is so thin, a small shock, like for example, there is drought in Vietnam, a major exporter, that creates a lot of disruption in the world market. Ganon yung nature ng market na yan eh. Kaya most governments, including us, take measures to ensure that we produce the bulk of our rice consumption.
Eden Santos, Net 25.
Good morning po, Secretary.
Good morning.
Clarification lang po, 29 pesos per kilo ang magiging presyo ng bigas kapag nagsimula na po yung implementation nitong ginawang comprehensive review sa ating Philippine tariff regime. And when do we expect po na maramdaman na ng ating mga kababayan yung 29 pesos? Kasi sa ngayon po, although siyempre hindi pa rin nila nakakalimutan yung 20 pesos na pangako ng Pangulo, sa mga merkado po ngayon, sa mga palengke, napakamahal po talaga ng bigas. So aabangan po ng ating mga kababayan itong 29 pesos na ito, kailan po at talagang hanggang 29 pesos lang po yung kaya nating ibaba. If
Okay.
in case.
Let me clarify, no? Okay. Ang 29 pesos na sinasabi natin, yun yung target na cost ng rice sa mga poor, those who are targeted for the 4Ps, for the so it's not a general price, no? Kasi ang concern natin is those who are least able to cope with the rice price, dapat matulungan ng gobyerno, no? So yun. So with the reduction in tariff that will reduce the price for everyone, it may not bring you down to 29 peso because of the global prices, no? Kasi what is determining the market, the local market prices are the world prices. Kung ano yung world prices yan, it affect us. Kaya ang ano natin is habang tumataas yung global prices at kung hindi natin ibababa yung tariff, lalo pang tataas na ganon. Kasi plus 35% i-add mo dun sa world price. Kaya ang ginawa natin, i-reduce mo yan para kahit tataas yung world price pa, tuloy-tuloy pa, yung impact niya sa economy natin, hindi ganon masyado, no? So, but the goal is to protect the most vulnerable, the poor in our society, because those are the ones who are less able to adjust.
So kailan po mararamdaman to ng ating most vulnerable sector, yung 29 pesos?
As soon as I understand, the Secretary of Agriculture is now looking for, has already made the representation for the additional budget that they would require, no?
Within
For
this
the
year po or
importation.
next year kaya
No,
mag-start?
this year, of course, this year. Doon naman sa effect ng tariff program, of course, it will take a little bit more time kasi number one, i-issue pa itong EO, and number two is it will take time for the imports to arrive because importers will now make a decision on what volume to import on the basis of the new landed cost of rice.
Naku, buti po na liwanagan kami, Secretary. No? Pero kumustahin na rin po namin yung ating GDP growth trajectory. Are we on track?
I think we are. We are. We are still. We are still. Tomorrow we will announce the new inflation. For wala pa ngayon. But we are still. I think with the growth that we have achieved in the first quarter, and we are aiming for 6 to 7% for the year. So it's still, we still have 6 months more, 9 months including this still the second quarter na hindi pa natin alam kung ano yung performance. But we are quite confident that we'll be there. And it's not a vacuous confidence, because that's what also other international observers, particularly World Bank, ADB, IMF, are seeing for the economy. No? So we are seeing the same thing.
Okay, well, final question from Pia Gutierrez.
Sir, follow-up lang dun sa reduction ng sa rice, sir, no? Ano po yung inaasahan nating effect sa inflation? Because you mentioned rice contributed about 2 percentage points sa headline inflation. So how much of a decrease do you expect this with the decline po dun sa
I think
ating GDP?
substantial, yeah, because if can you imagine if rice did not increase that much, then inflation could have actually been at 3%, not 3.8, not 3.7, no? And that would have allowed us more now, especially our BSP, to look at its policy rates now, because what's preventing the policy rates from falling are two things. One is the conditions abroad, particularly the federal the Fed interest rates by the Fed, plus and the inflation that we see here, no? And as I said, it's the for the past 3 consecutive months, it's the rise that had contributed more than half of that headline inflation, no? So ang laki talaga ng So if we can only tame it, then we should be able to be within that bound of 2 to 4% inflation. That's our target, to stay within that 2 to 4% so that we can go back to the low interest rate regime. Once interest rates start falling, then economic activity will start will be more even more robust. So that way we can sustain the momentum.
Okay, Tuesday New, DZBB.
Good morning, Secretary.
Good morning.
Sir, this past few weeks, panay ang declaration ng yellow and red alert sa ating energy sector. So far, sir, how do these declarations affect sa economic situation naman natin?
Well, so far as we see it, hindi pa naman yung mga yellow and red alert, they're not so disruptive pa naman, no? So the impact on the economy is probably not that large at its time, no? And it helps that we are now entering the rainy season, so the problem with our hydropower and even our many of our power generating plants, no, I think will ease, and that should improve the economic conditions.
Okay, thank you so much. This concludes our press briefing this morning. Thank you, Malacañang Press Corps, and thank you, Secretary Balisacan.
Thank you once again.
Good morning, everyone.